Your first 1 naira after 800,000 naira is what is liable to tax.
Or is her 2 million naira going to be taxed?
So her tax will be on 1.2 million.
Oh,
There's a grade starting from about 5%. The former law was on 7%. What you will pay as tax right now in 2025 is higher than what you'll be
what you
paying
pay when
after this reform.
Hello there and welcome to Lifeline on Wells Television. Here we talk all things that have to do with your body being healthy, your soul being healthy. As they were going an inch further, we're talking about your pockets. Very, very important as well. So you're welcome to Lifeline. This is Wells Television. You're following us. Have you subscribed? If you're not subscribed, this is a good time to subscribe. Just click the button below. It's written subscribe on it. So just click the button below and subscribe. Don't forget to like this video as well and click on the notification bell. Once you do that, you'll get regular updates about our uploads. My name is Bolanle Oduekun Ayola. I'm your host on Lifeline, and today is going to be a little bit different. So we're bringing this particular episode of Lifeline on a need-to-know basis because we've realized that there's certain things that many people need to know at this time. That you and I, not many people, let me not make it ambiguous, that you and I need to know at a time like this. So according to what we know, come January 1st, 2026, the new tax law in Nigeria will start. But the question is just how many people know what to expect, when it comes to this matter of the new tax law. How is it going to affect you as a person? How is it going to affect you as a business? How is it going to affect you as an MSME? Because big businesses are different from medium and small scale businesses. How is it going to affect you? Probably even as a church or a mosque. How is it going to affect you as a student? How is it going to affect you as, in quotes, what we call a hustler? Because, you have like 5 different jobs that you do. How is it going to affect you as a housewife? How is it going to affect you as someone who does remote work? If you work on platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and the likes, how is it going to affect you? And so we decided to put this episode together of Lifeline to talk about this and to help you understand better. And my guest on the show today, she's going to be helping us, break down many of the questions that we have. We've collected a couple of questions on the tax issue, and she's going to be helping us break down as many as possible. My guest today on the show is Dr. Folakemi Saba. She's the wife of Professor A.B. Saba, the senior pastor of the Saviour's House of Glory Ministries. Now, my guest today holds an MBA and PhD in accounting. She is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and a member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. She's well qualified and more than qualified to talk on this issue. You're welcome, Ma.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me on Lifeline.
It's my pleasure being here.
All right, Ma. So let's start from, why do you think that the federal government decided that it's time to have an upgraded or a new tax law? Was it because the old we've been paying tax? Tax has been a thing of we know of VAT and pay. For those of us salary earners, we know about pay, and for those who buy things from supermarkets, we know about value added tax.
Precisely.
So what was wrong with the old model that we had to have a new model?
Okay, thank you for having me online here. And let me say, tax is not new anywhere in the world. Tax is by definition a compulsory levy on individuals and institutions to enable the government to be able to fund majority of its projects that they have to actually embark on during any fiscal year. The essence of government pulling in tax is to be able to get enough revenue, generate enough revenue from its citizenry. You will see that in Nigeria, we've had a lot of borrowings and reliance on oil, but when this administration came into power, I'm sure some people can never forget that day. It came like a bang.
Subsidy has been removed.
Precisely, just the very first day.
Mm.
So if you make such a pronouncement, then you have to start thinking of other ways by which you can actually generate revenue. So I think that that was one of the things that informed this review of the tax law. Yes, just like you said, the tax law had always been there, and it needed review because of the new streams of income and new levels of operations at which people are, I mean, going about their things now.
Mm.
And it's not a new thing in Nigeria. We usually have our tax laws and even some other laws like that reviewed from time to time.
Yes.
And let me also say, it's not in Nigeria alone. It happens in other nations of the world.
Mm.
So it's not something out of place to have a reform at a time like this.
It's okay to see that, okay, the model we're using at the moment is not, it's no longer up to standard with the times, and so we want to work on it and make it
Yes,
better,
yes.
which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Before we get into what the new tax law has for Nigerians, can we do a bit of, can you help us with a bit of explanation into the different types of, this is one of the questions that we've gotten. People are like,
Okay.
I don't even know, what is income tax? What is this
Okay.
pay? What is VAT, and whatever other type of taxes that there may be.
Okay. Now, basically, we have what you call, in generic terms, let me say, there are two basic type of taxes.
Okay.
There is what you call the direct taxes, and then there is the indirect taxes. The direct taxes are those taxes that are levied on individuals and institutions, body corporates, business names, individuals, and like that. So on the individuals, we call it the pay as you earn. You are assessed to tax through your employer, who acts as an agent of government to withdraw that tax from your salary and remit on your behalf. The same way, if you are a business owner, you're a small, medium enterprise owner, and you registered your business, that's a business style. But of course, the law sees your business and you as one.
Yes.
All right. So it's just that you are operating in a style as a name. So, however, another one is if you actually register a corporate business, a corporate liability company. So, either of them, either of all those institutions will have to pay what you call direct tax. That is tax that is levied on what you do, what you earn, how you derive your income. So we normally say that income tax is levied on income that you derive from, that you receive in, that you accrue in Nigeria, or you bring into Nigeria. So there are four streams like that.
That you bring into Nigeria, meaning for people that do remote work,
Precisely.
work for companies abroad.
Precisely. So you do a remote work, the income comes into Nigeria, is supposed to suffer tax, So however, the indirect tax is not, like that. The indirect tax is levied on goods and services. So if you don't engage yourself in consuming such goods, you will not suffer such tax. So when Nigerians come up and say, oh, the multiple taxations, it could be because you are consuming certain goods that make you susceptible to indirect taxes. For instance, a form of indirect tax is VAT. And what the law has tried to do is items that we cannot but do without are exempt from tax. All right? Like basic education, stationaries, books for nursery, primary, secondary, to that level of education, basically is non-vatable. Medical items, non-vatable. Baby products, non-vatable. To encourage us to have more babies, maybe. Quite a number of a long list of items that are not vatable. But for processed goods, and if I decide to buy food from Bodija Market, for instance, I don't pay any VAT. But if I decide to go to a small, I want to enjoy, the serenity of my shopping
You're
and all
going
that,
the
then
extra mile.
precisely. So I must be able to pay a tax on the value that is added to my product. Okay, so I am paying VAT not because of my person, but because of the service that I've chosen, or the goods that I'm consuming. So that's an indirect form of tax. For import duties, for instance, is an indirect form of tax. So those are the basic types of taxes that you have, whether it is direct or indirect.
How about
And
this withholding tax?
withholding tax is also a form of indirect tax. So if I decide that, okay, Bolanle, come and help me to render this service for me to the extent that I'm able to do this and have some station in my office, then of course, when you do that, I should withhold some tax for government from what I'm paying you.
So the withholding tax
Yes.
is like removed on,
On
works
the
done for
service.
you, services rendered to you by, laborers, artisans, and
Precisely,
things.
who are not my workers. Who are not my workers. All right. So I say, please, can you help me with, fixing up this place, beautifying it, and I call you to come and do the interior. Okay, I should be able to withhold some tax for government. All right. But if I went to the market myself, got the fabric, and fixed it up myself, I won't be paying any form of withholding tax. So withholding tax, those other types of taxes are basically aligned with goods and services that an individual actually enjoys.
Okay, ma. So is pay the same thing as income tax? The pay as you earn, is it the same as income tax? We've heard about income tax, the personal income tax or something like that. Is it the
Yes, pay is pay as you earn.
Yes.
So it's a form of tax on incomes of individuals. All right. But of course, corporate income tax is the one that is on corporations, companies.
All right, thank you, ma. Now to the new tax law and how it is going to affect people. I want us to look at first how it's going to affect staff who work for companies,
Okay.
who work for big companies, and we'll also look at how it's also going to affect those who have their own businesses. You know that we have people that Mama Shade sells tomatoes and pepper at the junction of her house. But God has blessed her business now to the point that at least every week she has a turnaround, not profits, but she has a turnover of about 700,000 naira.
Okay.
Just still dealing in this pepper. She doesn't have a registered business, so we won't say she's a registered MSME. So how will this new tax laws also affect someone like Mama Shade?
Okay. Mama Shade should first of all get what you call a tax identification number. That is for everybody, whether she's a pepper seller, or I will advise that she gets a tax identification number, because that is on the basis of which she will be assessed. So with that identification number, we can see what she's actually earning as income. Mama Shade pays 700,000 to the bank as turnover, sales coming into her business. Mama Shade should also keep a record of how she goes to buy from that particular 700,000 from the market. And so she will go with maybe like 500,000 or 600, and then she will write it on her analysis. All right, this is for purchases and things like that. So Mama Shade is only going to be taxed on her profits, not her income.
Now, the question that many people like Mama Shade have is, how does the bank, or how will the government differentiate between, my capital and my profits? Am I supposed to reserve, am I supposed to fill forms? You know that in countries all over the world, people file what we know as tax returns. Probably every year, and then they're able to balance things with the government. They file it, whatever needs to go. This is how this is this and this is that, and then those who get
refunds.
refunds, tax refunds, get it in the next year, and all of that. Is that what we're going to be seeing here?
Yes, that's what we're going to say. We'll be having a lot of tax refunds. We'll be having a lot of tax defenses and things like that. I think, in the ordinary sense of it, the government is being very, let me say, open about it, quite transparent. So I advise um, every individual to also be very accountable, so to say. So state your expenses. You can always defend it. Now, is it that the tax or the bank is going to debit you straight away, straight off from the bank? Some of those gray areas are not yet known.
Sad.
They are not yet known. All right. But one thing that is important now is, let let a Mama Shade keep records quite well.
Mm.
The law is not to tax your income in terms of person, whether in business name or in individual, like we say, an employee of an institution. The law is taxing what you are taking home. For instance, for an individual, he is a paid employee.
Yeah, I wanted to
So,
talk about that as well.
ahead,
Paid employees.
paid employees have what you call reliefs. You have some reliefs on rents and all that. And the government is saying, if you don't earn up to 800,000, they don't even come to you. That's what you call a progressive tax structure. So progressive tax structure is that the more you earn, the more you should actually pay. And when you look at what the government is providing for us in terms of what you call the rate scale, there's what you call the rate scale. If you were actually earning that 800,000 as at today, 31st of December, you will actually be paying something. You'd have been paying tax. It could be residual, but you'd have been paying tax on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
For instance, maybe teachers in some private primary schools probably don't earn up to that. So they would have been paying something. But now, they won't pay anything. They are not paying anything. It is zero. So your tax obligation now commences from your 801. 801.
Per annum.
Yes, per annum. Your first 1 naira after 800,000 naira is what is liable to tax.
That's
And it's graded.
that brings me to my next question. When
Yeah.
you say that your next 1 naira or 1,000 naira after the 800,000. So if, for example, Ofere earns 2 million
Yeah,
per annum,
yeah.
are you saying so? Does it mean that it's the next 1 naira after 800,000 naira that will be
Yes.
taxed, or is her 2 million naira going to be taxed?
It's the
Is
next.
is it going to be calculated based on the fact that she's earning 2 million naira per annum?
Okay, so it's the next one.
1.2
Yes, naira.
million.
Above 800,000. So her tax will be on 1.2 million,
Oh,
not on 2
not
million.
on 2 million.
Yes. So the 800,000 is tax free. So at 1,200,000, then we look at some reliefs that the government is giving. The rents, what's she paying for rent is within what she can. Does she have an insurance policy? Does she have a pension policy? We take care of all that in our calculation, and then we subject the remaining to tax. And in that tax, there's a grade starting from about 5%. The former law was on 7%. That was where it started. So if you were earning about 800,000, you would probably, in fact, up to, like, when we did some demonstrations for a few people, up to about 1.5 million, what you will pay as tax right now in 2025 is higher than what you'll be
What you
paying
pay when
after this reform. You understand? So of course, every new thing has this, there will be so much hula baloo, this ain't going to affect me and all that. But from what we see, the apparent thing we see, it's going to be a good thing at the end of the day for Nigerians who have this civic mentality in mind, that they want to actually fulfill their own obligation to the nation. Because one thing that tax does for you is that you feel like you are part of the people. You have actually carried out your civic responsibility by paying tax.
That's very true,
Mhm.
which is also what citizens do in other countries.
Precisely.
However, many Nigerians are skeptical because they say, "Well, I provide my own electricity. I buy diesel into my generator.
Yeah.
I fix the road in front of my house if it's bad. I provide water for myself. Why should I pay any form of tax to the government?" These are the things that we've heard.
Yes.
All around now. You say that people are going to file tax returns. We've not really had that, in the past years.
Yes.
But considering Nigeria's level of literacy, and digitalization, we're not yet quite there. Do you think that the success of this new law can be sweeping?
I think so. But sincerely, like I said, every new thing will have its challenges. We'll face one or two challenges. We'll see one or two people say, bring their books out and show you that no, you are assessing my profits. You are assessing my total income, not my profits.
So you feel that there may still be a little bit of
those two
shaking when we start.
Precisely. Those two things clear, but will stabilize. So what I will advise an individual business person is, look, put your record straight. I mean, simple things like, have your vouchers, have your receipts, have your simple ledgers,
so that when the time comes, it won't be difficult.
Precisely. You can always defend it. You can always defend, okay, and when you are making your transactions in the bank, as far as possible, even on your app, describe that transaction.
Apparently, I realized that my bank app doesn't even allow me to transfer money if I do not put the description
Precisely.
of what I'm paying for.
Yeah, some banks are like that, and it's beautiful. It's good. And that's what will help you. Going forward, it will help you. Now, when you talked about the fact that the government, is saying that you provided all,
people are saying they basic amenities for themselves.
So that's why I'm saying that now Nigerians will become accountable. Our leaders must become accountable because people will ask questions.
Because it's our money.
It's now our money. There's a Yoruba adage, my mouth is where I put my money. So hitherto it's been like, oh, whatever you want to do. But now, we are collecting money from everybody, and through few hands, what have they done for us? So people will ask questions. And I think that in a way, it will make for proper accountability.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. Now, Doctor, there's also the question that people have asked on if I pay the payee tax, is my is some people are saying that is the federal government going to tax me and then my state government also going to tax me?
State government?
Yeah. So if, for example, I'm a salary earner.
Okay.
When we pay the pay as you earn tax, who does it go to? Does it go to the federal government or does it go to the state government?
Normally, your tax as an individual goes to the internal revenue of where you live.
The state.
Yes, we talk about your place of residence, your principal place of residence. Even if it's a business, a simple business, small business, medium, it should go to the state government.
Now, the question that people have is, if that is going to the state government,
yes,
is the federal government also now still going to tax me?
You can't suffer double taxation. You can. But what we see coming up now is no longer what you call Federal Inland Revenue Service. We are having Nigerian Revenue Service, which can have a part of some people from the state. We'll get to see how it unveils, in some days' time. But now, the NRS is for the federation, not the federal. But the reform has taken care of so many multiple tax issues and eliminated as far as possible. But from what we see in the reform, we don't have a situation where you will, as a person, as an individual, be taxed by both I'm so prudent.
All right, thank you, Ma. Earlier, you spoke about the tax identification number. I know that that has also been a source of worry for many Nigerians. On social media, if you go to Facebook, X, and the likes, people are asking, I don't even know, if I have the tax identification number. How do I get the tax identification number? And this question is actually very serious and realistic because sometime last year,
Okay.
someone reached out on one of our shows to ask,
Okay.
how do the person said, I work with a company, obviously my company pays tax, pays they pay as you earn on my
Yes,
behalf,
the remitting.
and the person wanted to, I don't know, probably apply for something, and then they asked for his tax identification
Education
number,
number.
and then he went back to the company said, we pay the tax together, we don't specify this person
Yeah.
or this person,
Yeah.
so we don't have your tax identification number.
Yeah.
As at that time, we're able to get a particular website where the person went and was able to, they just put in their phone number and a
Yes.
couple of details, their
Yes.
NIN,
Yes.
and then their tax identification number will
Popped
show.
up. Mhm.
But recently, in the past 1 month, we then tried that method again when we saw that question on social media. But then we realized that for people that it worked for before, it wasn't bringing out tax identification number for people that, were shown their tax identification number before. So the question of how do I get my tax identification number? I work with a company. I've been paying tax, the pay as you earn tax through my company, and I don't seem to have a tax identification number. So where do I go from here?
Okay, so yes, I'm aware that you could get your number, directly online.
The JTB website.
Yes, through the JTB website, and it's still on up till now. But of course, I know there are a lot of traffic. I still tried to access it 2 days ago for someone. I didn't get it until maybe about midnight, about to 1, early this morning. So it's going to be a little bit challenging. Why? Because Nigerians always attend to issues at last minute. That's the way I see it. You talked to somebody last year. I said kudos to that person that he experienced that last year, because if he had done it, about that time, it would have been much easier, just like you explained. So now, there's something about a multi-dimensional nation like Nigeria, which is the fact that there will always be a value chain created along the line. The value chain created along the line now is that we have some agents that can also assist you.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Most of the agents that assisted with the NIN are registered agents for the NIN, and they can still do the same thing for the tax identification number.
Oh, okay.
Just for a little something. For a token. I had one of my
So you don't need to go
colleagues,
to the FIRS.
You don't need to. But if you wanted to, fine. They don't charge at FIRS for it.
So can I just walk into the FIRS and ask that, please, I want to know if I have a tax identification number, or I want to get the tax identification
that you
number?
want to get a tax identification number? I'm sure they would navigate you through. They will tell you how to go about it. And if you had to go to the state secretariat too, you can.
Does this mean that come January 1st, companies are going to have to, when paying the tax for their staff, attach the tax identification number? So that means that this is December, it's almost Christmas. They need to find a way for their staff to have, the tax identification number.
Precisely. They can advise their staff to get it and submit at the accounts department of that institution, or they assist the staff to be able to generate it by doing a whole sum going through any of the inland or internal revenue service.
So that also means that for small and medium sales enterprises, people who work with foreign firms and the likes, they also need to get the tax identification number now.
Yes.
And pay how?
Okay, so that's the area that one is not for people that are in business, and people that are earning remote workers from diaspora receiving income in Nigeria. Most probably, of course, is going to be done through the bank. All right. So you just be able to explain, this is my income. There are basic expenses that are attached to this income. There are certain things I have to pay off for. I pay off the electricity, and even though I work remotely,
Yeah,
I had
for
to I had
data
to get
and the
data,
likes.
I had to take care of these persons, some security expenses, and all that and all that. Have all those marshaled in your records, and of course, let it feature as far as possible on your bank statement. So we don't know. Maybe the banks would now have to help the government as an agent of government to be able to,
To
retrieve that.
retrieve it, or
Yes,
we may just have like the remitter system.
precisely.
Mm. Thank you very much, Ma,
Yeah.
for this eye-opening
Mhm.
interview. One last question: do you see the introduction of this new law? Do you see it as one that will help to curb or stop the heavy rate of borrowing in the country?
Well, I think so. I think it will reduce borrowing. You're talking about the macroeconomic
Yes,
dimension for the
for
nation.
the nation.
I think so because increasing tax um, rates on individuals and companies, or reforming the tax law to be able to have more people in the tax net, is actually meant to increase the total revenue of the nation. And if revenue increases, then government will not have to be so dependent on borrowings. The truth of the matter is that the borrowings is was so high and is actually, melting on the system. And there's what you call the macroeconomics dimension of fiscal policy. So you will find out that this borrowing will have effect on, even on our unborn children. You understand? So I think that it will, to a significant extent, reduce external borrowing and, of course, impact more on the infrastructure of the nation.
Thank you very much, Ma. To those watching, I hope that you've picked one or two things. Now, this is an act, a policy, a new policy by the government, and we know that it's not for lack of policies in Nigeria. We have so many policies. It's really about the implementation. Of course, there's also the question that many people have: how will this be implemented? How are we going to ensure that many of the elite who have evaded tax payments in the past, how is the government going to ensure that they don't evade tax payment this time around? Are they going to bring down the bar heavy on them? Are there punishments for them?
Yes. In tax, we talk about two major things, which is evasion and avoidance.
So that's is different.
Evasion is criminal,
Mm.
avoidance is not criminal. Avoidance is looking at some areas of the law to ensure that you can mitigate what you're paying. All right. So, like this bookkeeping thing we are saying, if you don't keep your records well coming in 2026, you may not be able to avoid some taxes.
Mm.
It will just come heavy on you. But this law will take care of those that are evading, because, of course, there will be sanctions, probably ranging from queries to investigations to multiple visits of the tax officials. Then, of course, maybe jail terms.
Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
there.
It will go to that extent for some people. It will definitely, because the reform takes care of all those possibilities. So nobody wants that. So I believe that as far as possible, it's good for us to be educated about these things so that we can actually avoid some of these things. Tax evasion, generally, anywhere in the world, is a criminal offense and will be treated as such. And so when Nigerians know, nobody wants to actually be against the law of the land,
Mm.
or at least, to face such punitive measures.
Mm.
So I feel going forward will become more financially up and doing to be able to avoid some of these things.
Does this affect churches and mosques as well?
Of course, it does. members of the church.
I'm talking about the
Not
church.
no, not the church.
So churches will
There's
not
still an
pay.
aspect of the law that actually exempts ecclesiastical activities. However, if it's the church income, I mean, fine, they're exempted. But if the
But the
church
pastor's
does,
salary, for example, if the pastor receives a salary from the church,
yes,
is he expected to pay tax
no, he
on
won't have
his
to.
salary?
He won't have to pay tax on his salary because it's an ecclesiastical function.
Oh, okay.
However, if he is doing other businesses, even within the church premises, that earns him additional income,
So
he will be
churches that
taxed
have
on
schools,
precisely. Churches that have schools, that have supermarkets,
bakeries,
that have bakeries, that have event centers, that have lodging area, all such profit oriented ventures will be taxed. But the income of the church, the workers of the church, as at now, I don't think we have such.
Thank you very much, Mark. If we keep going on and on about this new tax law, we'll spend forever here. But as our guest has said, over the course of the next year, we'll definitely see more things unfold,
Yes.
and we'll know how to go about it. Thank you so much, Mark,
Thank you very
for
much for
being our
having
guest
me.
on Lifeline. That's how we wrap it up on this episode of Lifeline. We'll be talking about the new tax law that the government has put up, and it's starting January 1st. It's taking effect January 1st, 2026. If you're still unsure of where to begin is for you to get your tax identification number. You can walk into any FIR's office to ask about the process of getting your tax identification number. You can also visit the website of the Joint Tax Board to check if you already have a tax identification number, and that's just the first place to start. I believe that as the year unfolds,
yeah.
we'll know how it will work. And don't forget, like our guest said, to keep receipts of all, if you're buying this, make sure you're writing it out properly.
Precisely.
And this is where many of us will have to go for additional bookkeeping classes. My guest on Lifeline today has been Dr. Afolakemi Saba. She holds an MBA and a PhD in accounting, and she's a pastor. She's a minister of God. And that's it on Lifeline for today. Don't forget to keep it locked right here on Wells Television on YouTube. Subscribe, click the notification bell so that we can let you know every time we have a new video. And of course, follow us on Facebook, like our Facebook page, Wells Television on Facebook as well. And that's the end of this year for us on Lifeline. So I'll just say Merry Christmas in advance and Happy New Year. Until next year, we'll see you again. My name is Bolanli Uduek Ayola. Bye-bye.